Thank you for joining this and taking your time to join this webinar, and really appreciate your time. My name is Prakash Kandaraj from Cetas Sales and Marketing team. So over the next 1 hour, we will talk about this something I genuinely interested from my ISV perspective and industry perspective, which we work with many EPC and engineering construction enterprises. So we're going to talk about the story which is relevant for your line of businesses. So here's what coming in. So I'll just take a few minutes to set the stage for this today webinar to talk about why EPC industries, today digitization is very, kind of not just survival is more of nice to have. It's very important to be in the market, be in the industry, to work with, to operate in your, business lines and compete with your market players, right? So I'll just set the context and then I'll leave the floor to my colleagues, Sudharsan for the demo and product walkthrough. And then I have I'm sure Tejesh Karampudi from EtoE Rail, who is going to talk about their journey of implementations and success story with this. So before getting into the industry kind of conversation, I want to just touch upon what is Cetas, what we do, and why we are here, right? So Cetas is a Microsoft Dynamics focused partner since 2010. We are not just SI partner, we are a Microsoft Dynamics SI partner along with ISV partner. That means we develop a product on top of Microsoft Dynamics BC and Microsoft Dynamics platform. So what you see on the slide is we are talking about 14 plus add-ons what we developed over the last 15 years. That's what we are the real value, be in the market, be in the industry as a unique proportions and value to customers. Right. So today we are 160 plus company with 350 plus customers across the global market and with the 4 locations. And most importantly, we are the company in pioneer in India and especially Middle East market now with EPC specific industry ready solutions. Which is almost 15 years running in the market with the 50 plus customers. Let's set the context for today's sessions. So I'm not going to start with the technology. I'm going to start with the money. That's what you operate every day in your businesses, right? So if you look at last 3-4 years, railway budget and union budget in India, what you see, you're talking about 12.2 lakh crore, what is bumped in the market today with the kind of project, EPC project or kind of capital project what bumped in India is close to around 16.6 lakh crore overall, and talking about 9 to 11% year-on-year growth. That is what you're today here to understand. What is the opportunity for you to work in the market, right? Now, this is not just India alone, right? I know there are few kind of people are registered today in the webinar today, and mostly people work globally, right? They people not just India, they work in Middle East market and Southeast Asia market, right? So not just globally, the industry is growing around 127.5 billion opportunity. That's what by 2030 is from the KPMG report says clearly that the market is growing around 82.8 to 127.5 billion market, right? So that's a gap. But the important thing is that when you look at the money, what is flowing in the industry sector vis-a-vis what is being executed in the project and what's being tracked, it's all story, right? Because the money what is going to project vis-a-vis the what is money tracked through the Excel sheets, your manual processes, legacy accounting systems, all that, it's what matter here, right? So the important part is that's a gap what you're going to talk about today, right? So the important thing is the hidden cost of manual, your fragmented operations, right? So overall, globally, 68% of your cost is always overrun. Okay, this can be due to the many factors. This can be due to your estimation, inefficiency or wrong assumptions or procurement slippages or work order wastages or not properly tracked your work orders or changes not being tracked properly. There are so many factors actually be in the market when you execute the projects, right? So in globally, we're talking about $1.6 billion, I talk about construction inefficiency, right? That's what we are, the true gap in the market, the true gap in what you face today when you're on the EPC project operations. Okay. So none of this we are talking about, people are working hard in the market or in the project actually. But what's happening here is that the tool what you use today, the tool what you use to track your projects, track your cost is what matter here. That's what the webinar today is to talk about. So we talked about the margin slippages, right? So where your margin slippages, like I touched upon the starting from your estimation till your billing, right? So if we see the kind of bar chart, your slippages on your cost tracking or the inefficiency level, what you follow in your projects due to the execution issues gaps is what matter today, right? Uh, so the change orders or the slippages on it, right? So as per the PwC report, it is clearly says that 88% of the slippages due to the inefficiency, but the good side, the good note, that Accenture report say that 5.8% margin improvement when you implement the ERP system with the right tools, right technology, and right industry-ready solution. Not just tracking through WhatsApp, your DPR through WhatsApp or Excel sheets or spreadsheets or legacy accounting system. If you implement the right tool with industry-ready solutions, we are talking about 5.8% margin improvement. Okay, that's not small money, right? So we're talking about huge margin, huge money on the table for you to work on, right? So that's what the today webinar is going to touch upon, how you can improve it. If you're in the line of business where you're still using your legacy system or a Excel sheet today, this webinar is going to talk about help you to understand how you can improve your project control or a multi-site operations with the right tool and technology. So what I talked about the story, challenges, the issues, what you face in the sector. It just not just for EPC or railway project, right? It can be for any engineering, construction, contracting company, be it a fit out, be it a real estate, be it a construction, civil contractors, MEP, HVAC contractor. But the true story starts here, right? When it comes to EPC, railway specific, right? It's talking about multi-site execution, right? Any metro or EPC infra project, it works pan India or pan across locations. That's a one, right? And second is we're talking about the BOQ, right? Unlike other a sector within the construction contracting industry, when it comes to railway EPC, the number of BOQ is very huge. We're talking about granular level of BOQ, thousands of BOQ can be tracked. Right, that's a huge challenge to start with the time of estimation. Right, next is you're talking about rate card. Right, how are you going to define your cost for your BOQ, managing your BOM, all that. Okay. Also, when talking about EPC in the railway project, which is very subcontractor heavy, right? The delivery, everything from subcontractor, which is runs on year on, unlike civil project, it goes on for 3 years, 2 years. But any railway project goes for minimum 5, 6 to 10 years project, right? So you're talking to manage your subcontractor, be aligned with your BOQ, be aligned with your project schedule. It's a huge challenge to manage, right? Next is the stringent compliances, right? That's a huge part of the story to manage your compliances, manage your costing, manage your schedule, because the penalty what you face from your customer, the penalty what you get from the delays and the cost overruns, it's going to slip your operating margins are huge, right? And then linking your DPR to billing. Okay, see today what we face or what you hear from the customers when you go to the industries that you're talking about minimum 50 to 75 days to get your DPR to billing when it comes to the head office, right? So that means you're really missing your receivables, right? Your working capital to get your billing done, to get money from customers. So these are the impact what you see when it comes to EPC, especially railway projects. Having said this, so we are talking about digital transformation is not just nice to have or luxury. It's more of survival imperative, right? So one is to ensure that your cost on track, on budget to whatever estimated operating project or margin to align intact. One. Second is the opportunity what you have in the market today. To ensure that you be competitive, your competitors or other market to win and be grow or be expand your operations. Okay, if you want to grow, if you want to expand, you can't grow with your Excel sheet or spreadsheet legacy accounting system. You need a strong solid industry ready ERP system to align, be in the market, be competitive. So now in the industry overall, right, even globally, we are talking about the AI and the co-pilot is a buzzword, right? But it's not just buzzword, right? What you're seeing in the market today that we're talking about how AI co-pilot reshaping your ERP operations, how ERP reshaping your project operations and your control, right? One is there are multiple agentic ERP, agentic workflows or agents built into the ERP, which help you to manage your processes efficiency. That is going to help your labor productivity and also manage subcontractor one, right? So I talked about the Accenture report, it's talking about 5.4% margin improvement. That's a real money what you're going to reshape from your implementing the right ERP system, right? Second is predictive on not reactive, right? When you talk about predictive, things like, for example, if you're going to bring in your, payable tracking, receivable tracking, DPR, tracking, all that's going to get your money on table, right? So that's the one what you're talking about, the how agentic AI Copilot help you to manage your projects, right? So I come to the real product platform, right? So Cetas built in the platform on the Microsoft Dynamics ERP called Business Central, which is talk about your real challenges. What I described earlier on the challenges, starting from your tendering and subcontracting, billing, all that. My colleague Sudharsan will walk you through during the demo today. This is what the all the key features and functionality what you see in the product today. Yeah, but again, just before starting, there are three core layer, which are going to give you the tremendous opportunity for you to transform your business. That will give you value first to an operator. One is called the agentic or co-pilot AI engine, right? They'll give you more of more of pre proactive way of operating your business. One, the core layer called middle layer called industry layer that's come from Cetas expertise and experience with the last 15 years in the market now. That's bring your industry ready workflows and ensure that your risk-free implementations and ensure that you get the ROI on time. The third is the core ERP platform for Microsoft. Microsoft invests heavily on the core ERP platform, including security, including the data and all that, right? So that'll give you a tremendous opportunity to bring in everything in one ERP platform. It'll give you a single source of truth. So from your estimation till accounts and finance, you're talking about single line story, single truth, and single data layer, and thereby single screen, which everyone operate in the same ERP cycle. Yeah. So that's the platform I touched upon, right? The good part is that if you're working the Excel sheets or M365, Office 65, the same layer, you're going to collaborate with your stakeholders within the same platform, the same ERP systems built on the Microsoft delivery perspective, right? That talking about the rock solid ERP foundations. Yeah. So by implementing this ERP for NB project on Microsoft Dynamics Business Central, provide you the 20-30% improvement, right? The improvement can be across the department, across the projects, right? So even 30% of your operating costs is huge, right? That's the one. And second is you're talking about 7% schedule variance improvement. That's what I can hear from customers across the engineering construction vertical, not just EPC. I'm talking about across the EPC and sorry, engineering construction project one. And you're talking about 70% improvement on the your estimation, right? So that's a people currently doing through macro Excel sheets, assumption based. We are talking about that's a transformation what we're doing it by bringing the value to your business. And most importantly, you're talking about real-time business control and real-time reporting visibility, not just after 30 days from your site operations. So you're talking about when you implement the ERP system with industry-ready platform, what you see on the horizon, right? One is called how your system bring in the centralized accounting and the demand-driven sourcing and project management and procurement, and how you can control your procurement, with respect to your starting from vendor onboarding till your procure to pay cycle, right? All within the same project platform. That'll give you a seamless operations across your enterprise. That may be leader in your operations, be leader in your market what you compete today, right? So that's what I'm going to set the context today. I leave floor to my colleague Sudharsan for the demo and capability walkthrough. Sudharsan, over to you.
Thank you, Prakash. So I'll just start with a brief introduction about the NB projects. Okay, so what this app is all about. Okay, so NB projects is comprehensive ISV project management solution built on Microsoft Business Central, Microsoft Dynamics Business Central, designed specifically for project-driven industries such as railways, construction, infrastructures, EPC, and engineering, and many more. So it enables organization to manage complete project life cycle, from tendering, estimation, and project planning to the procurement, execution, billing, and financial control within a single integrated platform. So with built-in budget controls, real-time project visibility, and cash flow forecasting, NB Projects helps business deliver projects on time within the budget with complete operational and financial transparency. Okay. NB Projects comes with four core modules. Okay, so it starts from estimation, which manages your BOQ costing, code preparation for code submissions, vendor customers negotiations during the tenders, versioning of estimations, also getting vendor quotes and comparison and getting comparison from the vendor quotes. Okay, and then once the project is awarded, it moves on with the project management module, where the projects are converted into from estimation to a project. Then you have a project detailed budgets, detailed forecast of the budgets, scheduling, managing your change orders or variation orders, and then you have the customer running bill, which could be managed either through progressive or a milestone basis. And moving on, once the project budget is freezed, okay, so from after the scheduling and the budgeting, so it moves on with the material and the resource management part, where material management covers all your procure to pay process, starts from your requisitions, floating the vendor RFQs, getting quotes, and comparing the vendor quotes, and creating and issuing the purchase orders. Okay, so and managing all your inventory after the receipt of the material is at the site, and issue and the consumption of the material. Okay, so all the material aspect of the project gets managed through the material management, and the resource part, handling mainly on both your machineries and your labor parts, so will be handled through the resource management. It goes through again the requisitions, code, RFQ, and work orders, external work orders, and finally contractor billings and retention advances. So I'll just jump into, before actually moving on to railway specific features, I'll just cover the NB projects as a solution in the Business Central. Okay, so as I was saying, so NB projects has four base modules: estimation, project, and material and resource management. The estimation starts with recording all your estimations or the tenders or the bids at your tender stage. Okay, so it goes through the opportunity and becomes an estimation. And once the estimations are created, so system allows you to manage your client BOQs at this estimation stage. So the good thing about the system is integrated with an Excel, where you can import the BOQs of your customers from the Excel directly from your Excel. So you don't have to convert into a specific format or something. You don't have to do those kind of formattings, where you can directly import the Excel BOQs into the NB projects. Okay, so and the good thing about the other thing about this is, you can also, once after your costing and the pricing calculation is done within the system, you can export it back to your Excel, the same Excel which you used for the import. Okay, so that's the good thing. So this allows your team to minimize the tender submission and tender preparation time. Okay, so and moving on, so we have a concept of rate analysis within the system, which is a master, which is kind of an item or a resource kind of a master, which manages all your costing and the bill of material aspect of your for each and every task activity. Okay, so you can have you can tag items, resources, or item categories, in case if you don't have a brief or a detailed idea of the exact item which is going to be used. But in the estimation stage, if you still want to do a costing, you can go ahead with the item category or a resource group. Okay, and you can also map the GL account. Okay, so to manage your expenses to factor all your expenses for the project as well. Okay, so this rate analysis acts as a master. You can still use it as an optional, or you can still go ahead with directly you can go ahead with costing for the the individual task as well. Okay, so usually we have this rate analysis tagged to the cost in case if there are similar items for project to project is being used throughout. Okay, so yeah, so that's on that. And once the rate analysis with the actual base cost is being added or tagged to the individual task, so system calculates the procurement and supply and installation cost separately in case if you want to segregate it, and system will manage all your cost and the price within the system. And for price, you have a price engine. Okay, so where system you can have a defined price engine where you can predefine all your profit, overheads, all your components, price components within the system, or it could also be a runtime entry. Okay, so in case if you have a very less time, or if you don't have exact breakup of your price components, but you still want to directly quote, yes, you will be able to quote it on project level or even on the task level. Okay, so all these you will be able to prepare your cost and pricing sheet, and once this is done, you can export the same thing back to your Excel. Okay, so that's a good thing about this. And you can have multiple versions of your estimation based on the negotiation you will have with your customers. Okay, so each version gets tracked and you can compare it and you can review it for the sales purpose. Okay, and once the project gets awarded, okay, so once we submit the quotes to the customers and the project gets awarded, it converts into the project in this project. And the project also tracks all the BOQ details and everything back from the estimation. And this will again allow you to re-budget the project in case if you want to work on a detailed budget, and if you want to update on the scope quantities and planned start date and end date for your schedules, you'll be able to update all these informations here. So you can manage both your customer BOQs for your billings, and you can track your WBS, work breakdown structure, separately or individually in the project, and where your execution happens on your WBS entered, and your billing happens on your customer BOQs. Okay, so we will also have an option to link these WBS to your customer BOQs, so that system will be able to give or suggest you, recommend you what is actually going to be available based on your actuals in the project. Okay, so if you see the entire process, okay, so we are like automating these billing challenges which every industries or every the specific industry face for your billing and revenue generation. So yeah, and moving forward, you can also manage all your variations. Okay, so where system tracks all your variation orders, like what is our billable variation, if it is a non-billable variation, and system tracks all kinds of variation, whether it's a change in item or change in quantity, change in scope quantity, or it's a new scope of work. So every change gets tracked in the system, and it will go and amend the budget once the variation is approved and posted. Okay, so and the good thing about the NP projects is NP projects allows you on the project level, it allows you to control your budget. Okay, so for some project we know we have quoted with a lesser margin. In those cases, you can still tag these or map these projects as project budget validation disallow, which by which system will actually stop the users, the site users or the procurement users who is actually executing the project, will restrict them to go beyond the budgeted cost and the quantity. Okay, so the budget validation happens both on your quantity and your cost, and you will also have provisions to allow with some approvals or some confirmation boxes. Okay, so in case if you still want the users to go ahead with the budget, go ahead with the execution beyond the budget, but still want have a different level of approvals, then in that case, system also allows you to configure different levels of approvals. And as I was saying, so for the customer running bills, you can also map retentions and advances within the system. So when you actually tag those informations in the project master, so system allows or deducts these deductions automatically in your customer running bills. So this applies for your subcontractors work orders as well. You can configure your advances and retentions and any other charges into your contractors work orders and the bills as well. Okay. Okay, so now moving on. So we have this material management. So once the project is released, okay, so there is an approval process happening for the budget and everything. So once that is released, system will allow you to create a requisition. The good thing about the requisition is still it can be automated based on your schedules. So which means I can select a project and just give the start date and end date of the materials I want. And system can simply suggest me based on the start date and end date for the requisition. System can suggest me what all the BOQs items I have to execute, or WBS items I have to execute, and what are the items and resources I have to execute, and what is the quantity it's needed. And you can also track all your budget up, the requisition quantity, and you can also track till your stock in hand. Okay, so how the requisition is converted to an order, and then how much is received at the site, and finally what is stock on hand. Okay, so you the requester themselves can review all these informations even before creating a request or approving a request through a project manager or something. Okay, so you have this project requisition screen, which allows you or calculates for you on what is the requirement for the period. And this goes to the procurement team. Okay, so where the project demand planning comes in. Okay, so the procurement can run this project demand planning where they will be able to see what are the items being requested, open requisition all over the organization or project wise, and then they can actually select what kind of replenishment they are going to go ahead with. Okay, so for each item they can select and process different types of replenishments. So and based on these informations you will be able to map the vendors. So in case if it is a purchase orders, then it could be mapped as a vendor, and if it is a purchase RFQ, you can actually map multiple vendors to the project demand planning. Okay, so this allows you to actually create multiple RFQs and release multiple RFQs to vendors directly. Okay, so yeah, so this allows us to create the RFQs and process the quotes from the vendors. So we have an additional add-on tool as a vendor portal, where we can also provide some access to the vendors through a portal where they can submit their quotes and other informations through the portal, and that gets synced into the Business Central as well. Okay, so from the purchase quotes which is being received from the vendor, we get the quote comparison sheet from the system, and finally get it approved and create a issue and purchase orders. Okay, so and purchase order again, you as you know, so the purchase orders will actually allows you to create your receipts at the site, and manages all your taxations and everything, and finally updates the inventory. Okay, so system has a provision to allow you to auto consume the items which has been received at site. In case if there are no physical inventory can be maintained for the project, you can opt for these options where system won't track an inventory for the project, where system once received at the site, system automatically consume that item. Okay, so that option is optional on project level. Okay, and then you have the subcontractor issue items. Okay, so you have a material issue options where you can actually issue items on work order wise, subcontractor wise. You can also define the work order information and the task informations. So if you see throughout the system, everything starting from your requisition, budget, commitments, actuals, everywhere system tracks all the informations, all the items and resources consumptions through task level. Okay, so that's how it is. And then moving on, then you have this resource management part. Okay, so where you will also have the similar process just like your material management till your work orders. So in the work orders you have internal and the external work orders. Internal is basically to for an internal company labors, okay, so where you can record your timesheets and book your project expenses for the labors. And external work orders are for the subcontractors and the piece workers who actually provides the services of execution, or it could be your work orders can also be supply and installation together. Okay, so it's a back-to-back kind of a thing where system allows you to define what is the company's scope of items to be supplied and contractors scope of items to be supplied in the work orders. Okay, so and the work orders and purchase orders are also capable of creating a payment request, which is kind of an advanced request to the contractors on against the purchase orders. Okay, so it allows that, and all the documents within the system allows you to go through an approval workflow. You can disable or enable based on your organization structure. And so from your work orders you can process your mbooks, which is like a measurement books for the contractors. You can update the work done and everything against the project, and finally you can process the bill payments from the subcontractor work orders as well. So it also manages all your advances and retention deduction, any other deductions as well. Okay, so from here, once the bills are certified internally, and then we can process it for the accounts payable, as creating like a posting a purchase invoices and booking their expenses. Okay, so yeah, so this is from the NP projects point of view. Okay, so on top of this we have a layer of the EPC railway for railways and signaling specifically, where some features we have specifically developed for the railways and the engineering side. Okay, so which is like a cash flow forecast. Okay, so during at the time of tendering stage itself you will be able to actually forecast your cash flows for the project. Okay, so based on the execution or based on the project progress you are expecting. Okay, so it has a intuitive UI where you can actually define how your forecast is going to be. Like it can be a monthly, or it can be weekly, or it can be a quarter wise as well. Okay, so you can do your forecast on this way and track your cash flows and your budget forecast summaries, reports and everything within the system. Okay, so these reports can be on organization level or on the individual project level or even on the task level as well. Okay, so yeah, you can track these information even during the tender stage and even after the project gets awarded and the budget is freezed and everything. Okay, so during the course of project. So you can also take out annual operating plan, which is like for the year, what would be my budget and against all the projects. It is again, it could be on the summary level or it could be on detailed information, detailed task level as well. You'll be able to generate these report. Okay, so basically these configurations is what something which we have internally we have configured, and this gets generated directly from your forecast information. So which is like you forecast based on the sale of your sale or cost or the execution progress, and system will be able to give you the forecast for that. Okay, so yeah, and then we have the savings calculation. So for during my execution or during the process of commitment, we can track the savings on the company level, business unit level, project level, even on the order and individual item level. Okay, so we can track these savings against the budget, how much we are saving for each individual project and each individual line items as well, and that gets summed up for the companies and the business unit level. Okay, so we have developed a extensive report for saving calculation and to review these savings and the gross margins of each individual individual purchase orders and work orders being released from the NB projects. Okay, so based on which you can actually take an informed decision on the project. Okay, so yeah, so this is a summary. This is how summary on the BU level you will be able to take, or even in the project level or on the work orders level, you will be able to take these informations. And we have an extensive module for handling the site employees impressed request and settlement. Okay, so it could be, and this is again managed throughout the budget validations. Okay, so individual task wise they will be able to allowed to request and settle for their Imprest. Okay, so the integration with the finance team and the payment, all this has been also been part of this Imprest request. Okay, so system has an inbuilt integrated solution on this. Okay, and then you have this inspection purchase inspection request and inspection orders. So where system allows you to have a different track of inspection request converting into inspection orders once your customers approves for receiving an item or inspecting an item in the vendor's facilities. Okay, so we have developed a solution for an Imprest request and orders, and based on which the dispatch notes are generated from the vendors and against which the receipt happens. Okay, so you can have a controlled solution on this, and then you have this DPR daily progress report both on task level and on the BOM level, items and resources level. So based on the task level completion, we will be allowing you to build the customers. So we have built an inbuilt solution for us to get the DPR unbilled lines. Okay, and system would suggest you what are the unbilled lines, and during the billing part you will also be able to build the customers on stage wise. Okay, you can have multiple stages, it's a configurable. So each task you can have multiple stages, and each stage gets tracked within the system. Okay, so yeah. And finally we have this revenue transition, basically, which has been developed to track your DPR, your billing, or your unbilled information values, okay, for the project and individual task wise or supply and execution and the type wise. Okay, so you'll be able to take what I have built so far and what I have not built and what is the WIP. Okay, so just to track this. Yeah, so from my side, I'm good. So I'll stop here. So I'll give the mic for Prakash to continue.
Yeah, thanks, Sudharsan. So that's the story, what you seen on the action of product, right? Okay, now that's an interesting one from my side to invite Mr. Tejesh to talk about what you see in the platform, and seeing is believing, and what you're going to hear about the success story from the customer voice, right? The testimonial from customer is always interesting story. So I'd like to invite Mr. Tejesh Karampudi, the head and VP of corporate strategy from EtoE Rail, to share their journey, to share their success with NB projects and Business Central. And most importantly, you have to talk about what worked, what didn't work, and what are the learnings so far, and what has been transformed EtoE Rail so far. So Tejesh, I leave it to you to share your success stories.
Yeah, thanks for the invite, Prakash, and thanks for the generous introduction. And thank you, Sudharsan, for taking us through the nitty-gritties of the ERP system and the railways related customizations that we have done. So, good afternoon, all. I hope you're doing well in good health. I'm Tejesh Karampudi, Vice President and Head Corporate Strategy of EtoE Rail. EtoE Rail is a NSE listed SME company founded in the year 2010. So it's been 16 years, and most of those years we spent on Excels and Tally. Last year we migrated to Microsoft Dynamics 365 Business Central ERP system, and our implementation partner is Cetas, and we've been working on a couple of interesting upgrades as well, and which is a continual effort. So speaking of EtoE Rail, Um, we basically do everything from track laying to electrifying the track to installing signaling and telecommunication units on tracks to maintaining the track. So we do it all, but at a small or medium scale, right? The bigger ones are of the likes of L&Ts and Texmaco, Reliance Tata, so on and so forth. In the middle segment, we can be thought of as a leader. So the biggest challenge for us has been, to have all the data in one place and making a coherent picture of the data for decision making purpose. So having the data in one place and being able to make a coherent image of it for decision making support has been our biggest challenge. At any given point in time, we had all the data, but we never really had it if you see it that way. It's all there and not there at the same time. ERP was exactly solving that challenge for us, and the benefit of Microsoft Dynamics Business Central with NB add-on is it is a AI native ERP system. So as you see that AI is a very exciting and evolving subject, we would be able to onboard onto the AI platform pretty fast, given the intuitive way ERP system is designed on Microsoft Dynamics Business Central and the way teams are working towards it as well. So speaking of my journey and our journey as a company with Cetas team and with the product, uh, looking back, it feels like in 2024 we didn't have any understanding of the product. And Cetas team, on the other hand, they might have done some related implementations in the past, so they had some idea of our business process. But if we speak generally in any given business context where ERP implementations are being done, the mutual understanding is limited on each other's side of the story. So what I believe is as this understanding improves with time, meaning the client tries to understand the product and his understanding evolves with time. At the same time, the implementation partner's understanding of the complications of the business processes, organizational processes, are also generally pretty limited at the start, and that those also evolve with time, right? So somewhere these two have to meet, somewhere they have to converge, and that convergence demands a lot of mutual understanding, and to some degree, to some extent, some degree of flexibility as well, right? I should be able to see past the other side's lacune, and the reciprocity also is expected. So we found that in Cetas, they have always been pretty flexible. If I have to give them one thing to give kudos about, that is their laser focus on delivery. They are very delivery focused guys, and the product is naturally intuitive. And the way it has evolved with time, with NB projects add-on and the other layer of customizations that have been done is also pretty intuitive. We have like hyper customized it to make it ultra simple, right? So that is one aspect of it. The other side of it is, you know, we went live in August last year, and adoption was completely done in about a month. So what I wanted to basically highlight here is people talk a lot about change management when it comes to implementation of ERP, but I feel there is something that is much more important than change management. See, change management is the second step, like whether people will accept the product, they will onboard, they'll engage, and they will learn, they will do or not. That is still secondary. What is primary for me, given this experience of implementation and having known the product inside out, is designing the product right. I think that is more important than change management. If you don't design the product right, if you don't have the perspective of the user, if you don't actively assume the shoes and fill the shoes of the user, if you don't see like a user, work like a user, you will end up making something which no one is really willing to see, look at it or buy, right? So that is the real success of Microsoft Dynamics Business Central with NB add-on, is they have really worked keeping in the perspective of the customer, the user, end user, and hence it naturally is very intuitive, and their natural strengths on certain things which have evolved with time also is a good plus point. So overall, I would say our journey has been interesting, and what we are working on is even more interesting. We have several phases 2.0, 3.0 coming up, which is also very encouraging. Given our past success, our management is also committed in investing more capital into this effort, and we are bringing in more enhancements to the system. And the best thing is whatever we have co-developed so far is available for use ready-made. And I think all of you guys who is watching this webinar or maybe will be watching in the future, you should really consider this. You should be able to make use of it right away without having to go through the tedious and pain and the pain of multi-year hard work. That's what I think I have to say, and I really thank everyone from Cetas for inviting me and for giving me the time and for bearing with me with patience. I think Prakash, I'm done from my side. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you, Tejesh. That's exactly kind of the ground truth we want to hear from you, and everyone in this webinar today want to hear, right? So if you're okay, can I ask you two questions, Tejesh?
Yeah, go on, please.
Okay, right. So I would like to hear, what impact users are seeing right now, and how the end user adoption been so far. That's the uh, really user want to see, because every ERP system after go live, the adoption is a great challenge, right? So we like to hear from you on this your journey on the adaptability perspective.
Yeah. So speaking of the feedback from the users, we have about 100 and odd users as we speak today, and we are a 500 people company, and we intend to increase the user base actively going forward with provisions in each annual operating plan, right? So the collective, the cumulative net essence of the feedback that I have received is anything in the ERP system, any activity that they perform in the ERP system does not take more than 30 minutes. That is one key feedback that I've received. With most of the activities not taking more than 5 minutes to do. That is one. Second one is the system is really intuitive, meaning you don't have to really train them again and again, over and over again, as to what must be clicked first and what must be clicked next, so on and so forth. That's really not needed. That is the second feedback that I've received. The third feedback is the sort of reports the system is generating is actually quite good, and the responsiveness is also quite good. And as far as the users' interaction with Cetas team is concerned, they're also pretty happy with the team. On the support angle, everything gets resolved on time. If there is any particular delay, that gets communicated quite well in advance, and they are very happy about it.
Yeah, that's a great to hear, Tejesh. Because end user adoption is really a key priority for, I'd say, one of the key success factor for every ERP, in terms of realizing the value perspective, right? In terms of money investment, also the timeline, all that. So it's great to hear from you. The next question. I'm not sure how numbers are handy since it's the early days to talk about the numbers and metrics up now. What are the improvement have you seen before versus after go live, right? That's the one we like to hear from you. uh, which has been a year, and what immediate value has EtoE has realized, either in terms of cost estimation, procurement, or impress management, or stage billing. Maybe just if you have any numbers or any kind of updates, you can throw light on us. They'll help user to understand how digitization help the EPC enterprise. They can learn from the overall, the digitization perspective, right?
Yeah. So you're asking me the areas of improvement. Am I getting
Yeah,
it right,
yeah, yeah.
Prakash?
Just kind of experience or maybe improvement. Though it's just a 1 year now,
Yeah.
maybe you'll get much more to see in a realistic manner. But what do you see realized the value perspective? You just throw some light on this. Would be
Yeah.
helpful.
Thanks for that. So, see, there are many things that were already covered by the Cetas team themselves, and then there are a couple of areas that had to be customized for this industry, and we did it together. But speaking today, looking at the future, I think the one thing that can be worked upon is enabling multi AI models onto the ERP system. Currently, Copilot is natively enabled. Probably we can look at adding more. And from what I hear from the team, I think the team is also working on such integrations. So yeah, that's from my side.
Thanks a lot, Dijesh. This is exactly the kind of insight the EPC community want to hear, and how enterprises are transforming their business from Excel to modern AI-driven ERP platform like a Microsoft Dynamics 365 Business Central. So yeah, that's it, guys, and thank you everyone for this your time and engagement today. That brings us to the end of the webinar. I hope you picked up something new today that can genuinely help you learn something for you and for your enterprises and the purpose of joining this webinar. Thanks a lot again. And if you have any specific questions or if you'd like to see demo tailored to your needs or operations, please feel free to reach out to our team and we will schedule the demo as and when you need it. Yeah, thanks a lot and look forward to see you again next webinar. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank
Tejesh.
you.
Thanks,
Thank
Sudharsan.
you.
Thank you all.
Thank you, guys. Thank you.